Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. We haven't had an unboxing video for a while, so I thought we should. So this is what we're going to do. First we're going to have a look at this Amazon Prime parcel. I'm just see how to open it off camera. Yeah, no particular opening instructions. I think you just chop it. Open here. And we have, for the grand total, I think it was about £15-ish, some LED smart bulbs. So shall we have a look at what an LED smart bulb looks like now? The idea behind this was to kind of replace those bulbs that you get with a little remote control that let you do the RGB adjustment. But the difference with this one, it's got Wi-Fi connection, app control, it's energy saving, dimmable, voice control and set timers. So I think the idea was it would work with your Google whatever and your Alexa. I'm not even sure what's the Google automation. Google Home, I want to say. I don't really use it. But the idea of having a Wi-Fi enabled bulb kind of intrigues me, so I thought that would be nice to try. Ooh, really quite heavy. Surprisingly heavy. But it does feel really good quality, so yeah, good. So far, so good. And I think basically you just pop these in the light switch, light socket, and you leave the switch to on. I think that would be the general way of operating them. And then there's a whole setup guide there, and an app, and a whole thing. And if you're lucky, you might be able to set that up with Alexa, like they say, and you might be able to set up if this then that. I mean, that's kind of cool, isn't it? Because if you go on holiday or something, it means you can have all the lights do the onning and offing if you've got like security timers, or if you have a little routine in the winter and you want to come home to a house that's not dark, that could be the one for you. So yeah, cool. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that. Nice. Now the next one, I've already sort of removed my address, but is from Arananet, from Juan Toledo, from España. And basically, Juan Toledo from, well, sorry, it's Eduardo Arana. That's actually his name, isn't it? It's Eduardo Arana. He makes these really cool gadgets for computers. So go and have a look. And he sells them super like cheap. And I'm like, hey man, how are you selling this? Because you're selling them less than the cost that you made them. So I'll show you what I bought from him. And looking at this, I'm a little slightly bit disappointed they're all bundled in. I mean, this was probably the best part of €100 worth of stuff, and they're not individually wrapped. So I would be kind of worried that the PCBs will be grinding on each other in that jiffy bag. I do tend to like to use boxes myself if I'm putting things out, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, because they were so reasonably priced, and I'll show you what it is. And look at that, that's cute. That's a little nugget of PCB material with his Arananet logo. Little 3.5 inch floppy, and it says retro hardware by Edu Arana at edu_Arana. So you could probably find him on Twitter. And it says dedicated to my family on there. Really teeny. Look at that. Dedicated to my family. And it's disc 1 of 2. So maybe the more things you buy from him, you can get more discs and you can just hang them off a little keyring. But yeah, thanks for that. That's quite cute, isn't it? Now let's look at the items that I've ordered. So I've ordered this, and this is a Sharp X68000 keyboard interface, so to PS2. So you plug that in the front of the Sharp and you can use a PS2 keyboard, because frankly I can't do anything really with some of the games right now because I have no means of entry, and I'm not even sure I have a PS2 keyboard, but I'm damn sure that I'm more likely to find a PS2 keyboard than a Sharp one right now. So that's for that. If you've got a PS2 keyboard, let me know. I could be interested in it. And this item here, this jolly little fellow, is basically an Amiga and or Atari ST, because it does say on here again, look there, for Amiga, jumper 1 must be pin 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. For Atari must be pins 1 to 3 and 2 to 4. So you're crossing over it's probably the axes of the quadrature mouse. And it's a mouse to ST or Amiga interface, and you can see it will allow you to use a PS2 mouse or a PS2 serial compatible, sorry, a PS2 format compatible USB mouse in there. So remember, that's not just any old USB mouse, it has to be compatible. And he's got on here, I can see, a PIC 16F627A, so it's a nice little circuit. I think we've seen this circuit before. You can find it on the internet and make your own board, or why bother, just basically speak to what was his name again, I do apologise, Eduardo, and let him sell you one for something reasonable. I wouldn't have added it if it wasn't reasonable, because I have enough Atari ST mice these days. Okay, and now the next interface is one that I kind of don't need, because Mr. Gary Pinkett, in my exchange of the Sharp X68000, please look at the other video on that, actually, it's an interesting one if you haven't, provided me with a VGA output interface. But I saw this, again, it was cheap, and it was the VGA output interface plus the sound hardware on it, so you could output the sound as well. So if you've got a VGA monitor with the optional 3.5 inch jack for the audio, it's an easy hookup, and I just thought that's a no-brainer. It's a nice neat thing. Not many people are doing Sharp 68000 interfaces, and if I'm ordering all the other bits and pieces, I'll just add it in, and that's what I did there. Now, this one is one I've been really looking forward to, and before I start this, by the way, please don't comment down below saying, well, you could have got this thing or that thing, and I'll go through some of those in a minute, and I'll tell you what this is. This is called a Satan disc, and this fits in to the back of your Atari ST like that. You see it like there? There's the connector just fits straight onto the back, and it sits on the back of your Atari ST. My hand's the Atari ST. And you give it power, 5 volts power, and an SD card, and it will emulate hard disks, basically. And it's had a bit of work. These are quite a bit of work. I believe these were originally done by Juki. He's quite famous, this guy called Juki, and there's just not many people making these anymore, right? And they're always really hard to get, which is really annoying. It's like, why doesn't someone just build a batch of like a few hundred? It's always like in demand. Not me, I don't want to do it. So basically here you've got like an Atmel here, nice 18 mega, and you've got a Xilinx, so that's probably a little FPGA. You've got the programming headers there, and you've got the serial right there for that. That's probably the JTAG, yeah, JTAG header. And there's some, I don't know what that is. Is that a flash chip? Maybe a flash chip, power regulator, whatever, right? Some glue. And basically you put the SD card in and it'll emulate a bunch of hard disks properly in your Atari ST. So instead of having to buy an external SCSI drive, you can just plop this in there and use an SD, and you get your modern hard disks going on, and then you can crack on and just sort of do more Atari ST work. So for me, that's a no-brainer. I was tempted, so I'm going to go on now. I was tempted to get an Ultra Satan, which are a bit cheaper. I think this was about 40 euros, 50 euros maybe. An Ultra Satan, I think you can get them from 70, 80 pounds. But I didn't think it offered me any more in terms of functionality and how I was going to use it over this. And it had a bunch of wires, like you had a ribbon cable to Atari ST, so I couldn't be having with that. I thought this is just neater for most people. Clock it on the back. I think the Ultra Satan, you could have a real-time clock if you wanted on it. There's some benefit like that, but for me it's like shrug my shoulders, you know. Nobody's doing mega serious development work on their Atari ST, and if they are, then you know they can get their Ultra Satan. Or the other one, Cosmos X. There's a thing called a Cosmos X, which uses a Raspberry Pi to imbue all sorts of powers to your Atari ST. So it replaces a Gotek, replaces the Satan disk. I think it even gives you Wi-Fi. It gives you a bunch of stuff, and again, it's like meh. You might have heard my phone or my watch there just go buzzing at the same time. It's going meh. Again, if you need that, great, spend the money, get it. If you just want the simple solution, I think go on to internet and just pick this up, and yeah, I think that'll just do the trick. So I'm going to be trying all of these things, and of course my fantastic bulbs at some point in the near future. But I think the main prizes are probably the PCB hardware, because bulbs are bulbs, but hardware is hardware, right? Hardware is forever. So please comment down below if you're considering any of these items, and have a look on his webpage and tell me what you think on the prices, because I think he's incredibly reasonable. I think he is doing it out of a labour of love. As ever, guys, thank you for watching.